Playing on that engine, lovely old engine. It's now been fitted with rubber tyres. The owners down in Sussex do quite a lot of road work with it. This is followed by number 11, another one of our Fowler compound engines. This is Ada. Ada has the distinction possibly of being one of the first engines purchased for preservation in East Anglia. She worked for Lord Elfield, Secretary of State at Newmarket, and was scrapped in 1947, but Ollie Taylor, the present owner's granddad, went and brought her out of the scrapyard and you can use her to plough the garden using the windstroke on the back axle. That one is owned by David Gowlett and driven today by David and son Tom.
Well, coming towards me now is a Foden wagon, built in 1930, came from South Africa to the UK in 1930, originally on steel wheels and fitted onto rubbers in 1945. Installed by John Farrell Cornwall. It's its first appearance at Weeting Valley and it's owned by Mike Wilkinson of Blackpool and driven by John Johnson.
Yes, very interesting special engine that one. Developed for direct ploughing. Not something, it was too late in the day really, there were too many portable tractors about by 1930. This is followed by Morning Glory, same as this David Ben. 3-speed engine this one, another Burrell. And I don't call it a light road engine or a heavy agricultural engine, but anyway, single crank compound engine. In the 1960s owned by Brian Pitts, followed by the Weeting, driven by Ben Tregear and Darcy Stroud, owned by the Saunders Collection. This is an engine that's been owned for many years by the Saunders Collection of Stockholm. Recently had a rebuild, new boiler and all the rest of it. I believe I'm right in saying it was one of the earliest engines in the Saunders Collection, and interestingly it's an expansion engine. So it's got Wallace's patent expansion valve gear, which was Wallace's idea in theory to make the engine more economical.
Number 68, just heading towards the commentary point now. That's the Showman's engine Rosemary, a Fowler engine celebrating its 100th birthday, owned by the Bush family of Swanton Abbott.
There we are, very smart engine that one. Steve's always up bright and early cleaning the brass and the paintwork. This engine's actually for sale at the moment, so if you're interested in it, do go and have a word with the owner. This is followed by Ben Easton with his family's Burrell single crank compound engine, the Gordon. So the single crank compound engine was a patented idea by Burrell to make the engine more economical. It uses the steam twice rather than just using it once, and it has a single crank, hence single crank compound. Both pistons work on the same crank, which gives a relatively simple engine to suit the mentality of the average Burrell driver. That engine was built for an owner in Surrey. It then belonged to Lugs and Puddinghurst, and it's been owned by Ben's family since 2018.
Beautiful little Aveling and Porter. We don't tend to see many of those, do we, Mike? Aveling and Porter, of course, have been known for their rollers.
Yeah, no, Aveling's, of course, very well known for their steam rollers, but they did build agricultural engines and tractors as well, and I think we've got 2 Aveling tractors here this weekend. That's now just being passed by the little brown engine there. That is the Fowler Tiger tractor, little road engine, owned by the Saunders Collection. That one was owned for many years by the Drage family from Chisel.
Well, just coming up on the outside, beside Duke of Norfolk, is the Wallace and Stevens engine number 14, built in 1904, and worked at Pickford's haulage for the first 10 years of its life, delivering between their London depots, owned by J. Hazelhurst of Spalding.
A nice little tractor there. We've got a couple of those little 3-ton tractors here this weekend, actually, and my great-granddad had one, and it survived until 1953. When an early preservationist used his 3-speed Burrell road engine to tow it to the scrapyard so it was cut up. But I'm not sure what I'd do with an engine that size nowadays anyway. This is followed by the Fowl, an interesting engine this one. So you saw Century. I do hope you've all been paying attention through the whole parade. Century came in first, but it overtook everybody else. Mr. Fowl was a draftsman at Burrell. and then he went off to St Ives to make his own engines, and this is one of his. Built in 1922 and sold new at the Royal Show, Cambridge, and worked in Cambridgeshire for its working career. Rescued for preservation by the late Bob Humphrey, who just happens to be my great-great-uncle. He did nothing with it apart from park it in the yard, and he sold it to Gordon Wells, who did it up and owned it for many, many years. Now owned by Mr Stuart Hines, who is the chairman of the East Anglian Traction Engine Society. So if you want to know anything about the society, do go and bother him this weekend. He'll be delighted to hear all about it. Distinguishing feature on plows, they set the front axle back. As you can see there, it's under the boiler rather than under the slope box. The idea of that was it gave a shorter turning circle. If you were in a short, tight backyard, you could turn the engine round in a smaller space.
Well, coming towards me now, number 42 in your programme, the Bummel engine John of Gaunt, built in 1927. Spent its working life in Norwich and Wyndham, then went to Essex and Cambridge before the Newton family of Hungerford bought it in 1971. Now on holiday in Norfolk, it's owned by the Newton family of Hungerford.
And that's an engine that was driven here under its own steam the other day. Well, yesterday I suppose it was. About 45 miles on the road. Beautiful road engine, that one. And an engine that worked in Norfolk for all its working life. For one of our Evelyn rollers now. This is one that actually worked for a time for Gale of Whittlesea. As I said, Evelyn's built more rollers than every other manufacturer put together. This is a 10-ton roller, and it's a piston valve. The majority of engines you see in this line up here are what's known as slide valve engines, where the valve sits flat and slides backwards and forwards on the face. Evelyn's developed an idea where they had piston valves, and when they were new they were very good, but when they get tired and worn they can be quite troublesome.
Well, that's been followed by the Ruston and Hornsby roller called Moonlight Maggie, built in 1930, was supplied new to A.T. Oliver and Luton. So despite its current owner in derelict condition and completely overhauled, owned by Simon Bickley of Dunstable.
And that's followed by Mr Tomlinson's blue Fowler. So we've seen Ada. Ada is a good example of a compound Fowler traction engine. And this is a single cylinder version in a very striking blue livery. And actually towing one of the Weeting Rally log trailers.
The Muddler, built in 1908 and built new by Uriah Spratt at Horncastle. Uriah needed a new engine to be strong enough to do a little hauling. Spratt specified an 8 nominal horsepower engine. The optional extras of springing belly tanks and a canopy. Well, I said I'd mention nominal horsepower. When they created traction engines, they needed a way of rating them. So they came up with this idea of nominal horsepower. In reality, the power of the engine is way more than 8 horses, but they rated them as nominal. So nominal horsepower, this one's rated at 8 in that way. During World War I, the engine was used for the duration by the War Department for activities including haulage of construction material for RAF Cranwell. In 1921, following a substantial rebuild by Ruston and Hornsby, the engine was sold to Herbert Edson of Boston for Breton. And in 1950, the engine was passed to Alfred Lloyd of Lincoln for preservation, and he named the engine the Muddler. Restored and extensively rallied by Peter Ryder Stamford, bought by its current owner in September 2022 from Dave and Anne Ingle of Mark Drayton, owned by Thomas Baines of Bardley.
There we are. Always had a soft spot for Ruston engines, perhaps for understandable reasons. This is the ultimate, if you like, fitted with belly tanks as well. It was specified when it was ordered that it had to be strong enough to do a little haulage, and I think it more than did that. This is followed by the Marshall engine. So 8 horsepower the Ruston. This one is a 7 horsepower engine known as Old Nick. Regular at Weeting and other rallies with the late Ernest Eagle, now owned by Andrew Eagle, who's shining today. The engine had full restoration, boiler work, repaint, the whole lot. It was really a credit to the owner and his family. who work hard to keep it looking so smart.
Well, number 37 coming towards me now, an Aveling and Porter little tractor called Clementine of 1920. Supplied new to Herefordshire County Council as part of a batch of 4 steam tractors made in colonial design. Used for haulage and thrashing by the council.
Quite an achievement there, and the engine travels with its own living band, which can be seen at the bottom of the field. So, steam tractor again, similar to the Duke of Norfolk over there. You see the pipe hanging on the back of the tender there, that is the water lifter hose. So when you're travelling by road, you can stop by the power of steam. You can use your steam water lifter to lift water from the roadside stream or a pond, but never ever from the parish horse trough. This is followed by Lord Kitchener, another engine from the Saunders collection. This one was owned and worked for Shivers at Devices. Been in the Saunders collection since the early 90s, and a full rebuild carried out, repaint, reline, very smart looking engine.
Well, moving on to one of our engines owned by the Charles Carthon Centre. The exhibit there by George Turner. The engine, of course, is called Aggie.
Another of our compound engine, and the interesting point in that engine is on the ground front axle. An idea that Burroughs had for a period of time to stay there, whether it's got the down or the.
And of course we have one of their famous engines making its way towards us now. It's the engine Queen Mary, built in 1920, was completed the Charles Bubble Museum by the late Viv Kirk. In order to secure the engine's prosperity, the Bubble Trust are currently still raising funds for the engine.
Possibly one of the best known amusement caterers in the country, and in case you hadn't worked it out, a showman's engine was exactly that, an engine that worked on the travelling fairground to transport and power the fairground rides. So Queen Mary, that's followed by St Braddock, owned by the Milband family, another regular here at Weeting, been a couple of 3 times, and always turned out immaculately, and I had a lot of work carried out on it by the owners.
Here in 2019, owned by Andrew Jones of Cambridgeshire.
And then followed by another of our borough agricultural engines. This one is Britannia, another engine that travels many miles by road under its own steam. Richard actually organised a road run on behalf of the East Anglian Club a few weeks ago, in which this engine took part.
In 1919, bought by its present owner, Mark Broom, in 2018. It's been to Weeting many times, and restored over the last 20 years by James Cowan.
That's right. C-type wagon owned by Andrew and Nick Caldo. They've rode here under their own steam from Soham. Not far in a vehicle like that. You can see this is the forerunner of the modern lorry. But Foden wagons almost universally in what's known as over-type wagons, in that they have the engine over the boiler as per normal traction engine. That one here, classic line, 7 horsepower Ruston, 1908 this one, and a very nice engine.